Just to start off with, Sam Prendergast appeared to have a good bit of strapping on his left leg when we were out for the vision access earlier on. Is that just kind of precautionary stuff? Does he take a full part in training? Is he carrying it off?
No, yeah, everyone trained fully today, so just a little dead leg, I believe, so sure you'll be right.
Very good. He's obviously someone that people have been watching a lot of in the last few months. You got to work with him at Leinster last season and now through with Ireland as well. How much have you seen him develop specifically probably over the course of the last 12 months or so?
Yeah, it's been a great couple of months for Sam, hasn't it? Just the game experience he's managed to gather up, both with Ireland and then the emerging Ireland first, Ireland, and then some big Champions Cup games away to La Rochelle, home to Bath. So it's been a great little period for him to get like real game experience. I know he valued the time at Leinster when he was training alongside the senior squad as an academy member, but to get out there and feel it for himself, there's been huge growth in his game.
In terms of the overall attack for Ireland, there was probably I think clunky was the word used a lot in November, and a lot of just kind of handling errors across those 4 games. Are you confident that those things will have been ironed out by the time you get onto the pitch this weekend?
Yeah, we were aware of. So some of the timing was off, and as you see, some of the skill execution that we pride ourselves on was off. So look, we're sharp and we're focusing around our skill set and making sure we get lots of good decisions on the ball and get plenty of touches on the ball through the week. So when we come into the pressure moments, we can execute those.
And then just last for me, the new kind of interpretation around the kick escort was a huge thing in November, and teams were trying to get their heads around it. How much more comfortable do you think you will be, and all teams I suppose will be, with it this time around, now that there's been a couple of months of games and a bank of knowledge to kind of look back on?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of contestable kicks. Start of the Six Nations, teams wanting to apply pressure. England kick a lot of contestable kicks generally anyway, so away from home I can expect that they're going to go to the air early, and they've got some great aerial players in their team. So yeah, it's about, again, skill set around the kick to make sure they are contestable, skill set around the catch. We're putting a lot of emphasis on that. And then it's the reactions of it, the speed of transition into attack or defence. It's a highly transitional game, especially with those kicks involved. So we're making sure we get plenty of time around that area of the game.
Matt, just the live element to it.
Yeah, Andrew, obviously we're in match week now, so has there been a noticeable sort of step up in intensity with some of the sessions maybe over the last couple of days?
Yeah, there's some great competition out there. The boys are pushing each other hard, so with a pretty fully fit squad, apart from unfortunately Tig leaving us earlier in the week, there's some guys that are really pushing each other and fighting hard for positions, but doing it in a good way, like pushing each other and competing, which is great to see.
Just go back to what Liam was saying about obviously the competition between fly halves. I mean, how great is it to be, like, as a coach, to be in that position to have a group of out halves who are young, they have potential, and obviously they can go a long way and sort of have great test careers? Yeah,
the three of them, they're all great lads first and foremost, and they all work really well together. So as I said, they're competing hard in the field, but the great pleasing thing is you go back to the hotel and they're sitting around the computers together, going through clips, and they're driving the team well. So it's great to see, and I'm sure they'll, as you said, they'll all have great test careers ahead.
Just finally, England up first, how exciting is that? That was the first game.
Yeah, hugely exciting. I was actually telling a few of the lads last year I was at Cheeky Pup here watching England-Ireland, having a couple of pints, so a bit of a different experience for me this year.
England are so unpredictable at the moment. There's been a lot of chopping and changing in the backroom. How do you prepare for that sort of game?
Look, they have. They've been very close though. Look at the series they had over in November in terms of victories. They probably should have beaten the All Blacks and should have, would have beaten the Wallabies, and were in the game against South Africa. So I think there has been changes, but there's some clear things in their DNA that we can expect around their physicality, the pride they have in the collisions both sides of the ball, and as I said, the strong aerial presence. So I think the team they've got, the squad they've got together, yes, there might be changes in the background, but you can put your bottom dollar on there's going to be some key things that will shine through with England that always do.
Yeah. Did all 40 lads who are there now all train fully?
Yes.
So everyone's...
Yep.
Okay, that's it for the live section, and the rest is embargoed until tomorrow. So, Simon, do you want to kick off?
Yeah, in terms of picking up where you left off or moving on from November, how pleased are you with the way you have kind of put some of those things right that were in terms of execution and all those aspects that you talked about earlier?
Yeah, I suppose you're not going to be able to really talk about it until we get games under the belt, but as I said, we're doing everything we can in our trainings in terms of touches on the ball, in terms of making sure we've got really competitive sessions to put boys in game-like situations, over-speed situations, to put their decision-making, their skill set under pressure. So, as I said, the boys are training well. We've touched on November, we've looked on it obviously extensively as a coaching group and passed the key things on that we think to the group that can improve us during this period. A lot of around what you've said around the execution.
Yeah. Having James Lowe back, obviously he had a great game at the weekend. He's come back and he's in flying form, is he? Is he just bounced straight back into, despite the layoff?
Yeah, he looked pretty sharp in the weekend, didn't he? After a pretty extensive layoff, and the thing is with those boys, when they are off, they get a great chance to get reconditioning blocks in. So seeing both him and Dan out there playing as they did on Saturday was great to see, and they've brought a lot of energy back into the camp. And for Dan especially, the boys are excited about seeing him back around the team, as he's had a decent layoff with that ACL, and he's done a great job to get back in time for Six Nations.
Andrew, has your role changed a little bit, more responsibility with Andy with tax?
Yeah, there's a little bit, a couple of more things I need to pick up with Andy gone, and we're all having to pick up with Andy gone, but we're lucky to have a group that's been, apart from myself, obviously, that's been together for a long time and work really well together. So I've been lucky enough to work under Andy for a couple of campaigns now and seen the way he operates and messages and delivers and gives live feedback at training. So I'm just trying my best to do as much as the load that he would have done.
Yeah, in November, nearly all the tries were early phase launches offline out. So that side of the game worked really well. How pleased were you with what you saw, and are there more layers to come on those strikes?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's something in all levels of rugby that I think presents exciting opportunities. So the execution that you need to have, and it's always great excitement to see something from the training field to a high performance, high pressure situation like that come off. So of course we put time into that side of the ball, but when you think around a game against England, are they going to give us the line outs, or are they going to go contestable? So it's a really important balance to get around the unstructured stuff, and that's probably part of the game. We want to make sure we improve on our transition speed and our execution in those unstructured parts of the game to get the time, or to just finish a couple of opportunities that we did in November, because we still created a lot. It was just the finishing, the last little touches, the last pass, the last decision that we need to tidy up for game one of Six Nations.
Steve Ward would say he thinks the crux of the game is dealing with the Euro phase play attack, which has been, I guess, a superpower for this team. Is that side of the game still presenting lots of opportunities? Because obviously defence have got even more and more aggressive, but you still feel you can get big wins there.
Yeah, I think we can. We need to still do things our way as best as we can. And I know I've come from an outside perspective around watching Ireland from the outside, and I know how much other teams, other countries look to Ireland's attack and love the way they do things and show best practice clips. And it's quite often Ireland, there'd be a number of, I can speak from my Crusaders experience, we'd always have clips of Ireland's attack and how good they were at the line with the decisions and the multiple options and little bits like that. So yes, defences are getting better, but I still believe when we do our things as well as we can, we're still going to stress defences with the phase attack.
I know you weren't involved last year, Andrew, but they tailored a plan massively for Ireland, and they especially countered off James Lowe's long ranking kicks.
Yep.
How much do you have to almost try and get them out of your head? First game they're going to have a plan, and their plan worked so well last year. Do you have to consider what they might do, or do you have to kind of almost just trust that if you do what you do well, you win the game?
No, you've got to think about what they do for sure. You've got to try and stay a step ahead, and looking back through past performances, especially when oppositions have had success, you have to go back through and saw what worked well for them. And a lot, again, was around collision. A lot was around the pressure they put on exit cycles. They love to put teams into exit cycles. They're good at putting pressure on teams from there. And as you say, they do come to life off counter-attack. So definitely something we've looked at and we've talked about, and we're making plans to make sure we can be better there this year.
There's a perception outside that Leinster and Ireland have almost gone off on different paths since Jacques came in, and that it's harder for players to move from one to the other because of that. Do you share that perception, or do you think the players are able to flick in quickly and start fast despite having to take on different information? Or do change the kind of way they play?
No, I think not just Leinster, but all the provinces. If you're talking around Jacques, he's a world-class coach, and he's coaching those players world-class little bits of gold that we have to use when they come into Ireland. Same with all the provinces, some great coaching going on. So we've got to kind of get all the boys in and listen to what they're doing at their provinces, but ultimately get them aligned to the way we want to do things. And that's the challenge with a 2-week build-up, is making sure we are aligned. And I suppose the great thing is they're experienced around coming in with 2-week build-ins. And one of the first things I always heard when I came into the Ireland setup is there's no excuses with a 2-week build-in. We expect to be at our best game one, and so that's what we're driving for week 1 of Six Nations.
How have you found working with Johnny as in a coaching capacity, and what kind of has he brought to himself?
Oh, he's great to have around. Apart from a great paddles partner, he's pretty sharp on the court, so I try and get in with him as much as I can. But he's doing obviously the coaching of the kicking and mentor for the team, like mentors for who could you ask for better than, as an Irish team, young Irish team, to have Johnny Sexton around and watching training with you and giving you live feedback in training and everything else. Not just the teams though, obviously he's been a great leader for this country as a captain, so a new captain into the group, but some younger leaders coming through as well. He's a massive, important ear for them as well. And then for all of us coaches, he's got such a great eye on the game. I know personally myself, I run things past him, and I love him because he's honest, and he'll provide his own opinion on things as well, which always leads to good discussion or debate, and then you ultimately get to a really good spot. So I'm using him a lot. He's got a great eye for the game, and hopefully he can continue in that role for as long as possible.
I've heard some people say that they worry that he was such an overbearing is a strong word, but he was such a dominant presence in the group for so long, and they're worried that these young talents won't be able to flourish if he's still around. But obviously you think they're only going to benefit from being able to just go to him and ask him questions and hear what he has to say.
Yeah, I think it's quite laughable actually to see the way that they operate. Like, I've seen it every day, and they get on well, and he's been in touch with them most weeks through the Provincial and European games, and they have a great laugh together. And as I said, the young teams, they all work well together as well, so there's often times when they're all together chewing the fat around the game, which is it's great to see, and massive benefit for not only them but the team and their provinces as well. Yeah, there's definitely a rivalry, and that's the thing you've got to do. You've got to get the balance right of coming in and competing, but ultimately when the team's named, or the team, the bench, and one of them's going to be in the team, one of them's going to be in the bench, and one's not going to be playing. So when you get to that stage, you've got to help those other guys perform as best you can. That's part of being a great team member, and again, something I've learnt a lot of around coming into this island environment.
Just one more section, I promise. Would that sort of information he's passing on to the young perhaps also apply maybe to the captaincy in Caelan, and because he was a captain for so long and there's a skill set to go with being captain of the team?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Do you impart that as well?
Yeah, like as I said, he's around for all players to use. It's not just the teams. All players will have a chat with Johnny, but as you say, around his leadership, not only Ireland but his province as well, he's got great experience in that role, so he'll be passing on little bits of wisdom to all of them.
And just finally for me, how important is it for Ireland to come into this campaign with fresh ideas and new ideas, rather than coming in as just a slightly better version of the Irish team we saw in November, or is that good enough?
It's always a balance. You've got to be really confident in your own DNA, and you've got to keep improving that. You can't just say this is the way we do things and be happy with it. You've got to get better at what you do well, but you've also got to evolve your game, because teams analyse you so well these days. You've got to have little things that might be a little bit different here and then. So definitely you have to trust your DNA, but you've got to evolve as well. So it's a balance. And as I say, with 2 weeks coming into a first test, you've got to trust your DNA, but again, evolve at the same time. So mate, I think I've said it before, I was part of a massive rugby family growing up, and it wasn't just Southern Hemisphere rugby that we watched growing up, it was Six Nations, and I know the buzz around it. Obviously, being lucky enough to come over as a player with Leinster 12, 13 years ago now, as well as a supporter at Six Nations games, and I know the buzz, excitement around Dublin when the games get going. I've been to games in Murrayfield before and different little bits like that. So it's hugely exciting, and it means the world to me and my family as well. And they'll be all in green at home cheering us on.
Is there any moments that stand out from watching the game?
I used to Rog used to be. I was a 12 that could play 10 or a 10 that could play 12. So I used to enjoy watching Rog play back in the day, and some of those games back at the old Lansdowne Road were ones when I would have been 10, 11, 12, watching them with my old man, and he was rugby mad. So he'd come over. He'd actually travelled over to one of the Six Nations games years and years before on a tour with some of his good friends. So used to tell me tales of those as well.
Last question, Simon.
Can I just ask you about Mike Prendergast? Obviously he's here and he's with the squad. What's his role? Is he part of the coaching group now, or is he just a watching brief at the moment for him ahead of England the England A game? Yeah,
well, obviously hugely exciting for Mike being named head coach of the Ireland A group. So he's just been in for the week to get alongside us as a group of coaches and see how a week runs here with Ireland. But he's been helping out when he can as well. He was doing some stuff with the Nines today, and obviously a hugely experienced coach, and he's got great relationships within the group already. But he's been helping out where he can.
Yeah, in terms of talk about players adjusting from provincial language, if you like, to the national camp and the terms and whatever, is it the same for coaches? Is it the same for you coming in and picking up on that kind of?
Yes, yep, no, yeah. I did spend a lot of time pre-coming into camp, obviously when I started before November, working a lot on the language to make sure I got it right. There's been a few slip-ups, but been pretty good.
Thanks, Andrew.
Cheers.
Thanks, Andrew.